Hi, this is Rachelle with Journal Life's Journey, and this is a junk mail folio that I created over on my other channel, Scrapcraftastic. I'll link to the original videos in the description box below, but I wanted to include the beginning footage of this over here on Journal Life's Journey, since this is where I will be doing projects like this from now on, and I'm finishing this up over here as well. So basically I created a folio using junk mail and scrapbook papers and aged paper or tea or coffee stained paper that I had in my stash. I did not do a specific tutorial for this, but I will be making more of these in the future. I would like to make one that is wider. This one is fairly slim, so I would like to make a wider version. So I will do more of a tutorial of that. If you're interested, let me know down in the comments. So I'm just giving you a time-lapse view of how I put this together. If you want more detail, like I said, I'll put the links into the original videos in the description box below. I just wanted to share some of the process in the beginning, and in this video later on, I will be adding some finishing touches and finishing up the folio. Here I'm making paper beads, or showing how I made the paper beads. This was from an Instagram video. If you're not following me on Instagram, you can find me at Scrapcraftastic and Journal Life's Journey on Instagram. These are the beads that I made to go with the journal. And here I'm going ahead and adding this butterfly that I covered with glossy accents onto a piece of seam binding that I'm using as the closure. And I'm also going to go ahead and try using some of the glossy accents on a couple of the beads. And I have these beads on a knitting needle. I use the knitting needle to roll the beads. Again, more detail on how all of this was done in the videos linked in the description box below. So here I'm just working on the cluster for the cover. I didn't want to put too much, but I did want what I did include to stand out a little bit. So that catches us up to where I am currently in the folio. So I'm just kind of doing a brief flip through so that you can see what I've added, if anything new is added. And I'm also checking to see what else I would like to do in the folio. So I'm just checking the ephemera, seeing if I need to add anything. Or upgrade anything. So I'm going to turn this scrap into a tag. I'm using the Scotch Create glue stick, and then I'm going to go around the edges with my Barely Arts liquid glue. And then I'm just using a scrap piece of coffee or tea stained paper to back the tag. Then I'm using the ruler to spread the glue, and I'm going to take my scissors and trim off the excess. While that dries, I'm going to stamp out the word mariposa, which is Spanish for butterfly. I think I got that right. And hopefully I spelled everything right that I did here. But I'm just going to stamp out all of the letters in the word on this scrap. And I'm leaving space in between the letters because I am going to use my tear ruler to tear the letters apart. Okay, so this is a tear ruler or tear guide by We Are Memory Keepers. And they come in a set of 3, plus there is like a water pen included with the set. But usually I don't think I've even used the other 2 rulers. This one is my favorite. This is the one that I use the most. And I guess I should experiment with the others. Maybe I will do that in a future video. And it's not intended, but as I was tearing these out, I realized that they kind of reminded me of Scrabble pieces. You know, the game Scrabble. They kind of look like those to me. And especially once I add them in the folio, they really started looking like that. But I'm okay with that look. This part of the folio is something that I had been thinking about for a couple of weeks and just never went into the craft lab and sat down to do it. And once I did that, I decided, okay, it's time to wrap this up. So I kind of stuck with it and finished as much of it as I could in this session. Okay, so now that the tag is dry, I'm using the We Are Memory Keepers tag corner punch, and I punch the corner, and I'm using my new slot punch to punch the hole in the top for the pull, and I am inking around the edges. And I probably should sew, but I just decided I was not doing any sewing on this project. Here I'm taking a piece of lace and cutting it in half, and I'm trimming off the band so that it won't be a gathered piece of lace anymore because I didn't need the gathering. And then I'm just going to tie a knot and use that piece of lace as my tag topper or a tag pull. And then I'm just going to slide back into that pocket. So that is done. Now I am going to add another word. It's French for butterfly. I'm not sure if it's papillon or papillon. I think it's papillon. I'm not sure. But I did look it up and this is the correct spelling. And I did put 2 P's in the middle there because the first one didn't stamp correctly, but I will only be using one of those P's in the middle. And I'm doing the same process that I did with Mariposa and tearing the letters apart, and then I will ink the edges. Again, I am dry fitting to make sure that all of the letters will fit, which they should, because it's 8 letters, just like Mariposa. So, and now I'm going to go ahead and glue those down. So now I decided that I need to put a thumb pull into this pocket, which is an envelope that I made into a pocket, just so that you can tell that it's a pocket. So I put the thumb pull in, and I'm just going ahead and ink in that area that I just punched. Then I also wanted to do something with the large envelope, so I'm going to trim this piece of paper from the collection down to size and make somewhat of a folio insert with it. So even though this folio already has 2 small notebooks included in it, I am going to make this some additional writing space. So again, I'm using the glue stick on the middle and going around the edges with the Barely Arts wet glue. And the reason I do that is the coffee or tea stained paper, some of the paper that I'm using is not very thick. So I don't want it to warp too much, even though the Barely Arts glue is pretty good about not warping. I find that the glue stick just sticks better and around the edges, just to reinforce and make sure that my edges are sealed good, I go around it with the wet glue. So I smooth the paper out, spread the glue. I'm burnishing this fold, and I'm using a decorative corner punch. And now I'm going around the edges with Distress ink. Again, just smoothing out, making sure that everything is laying flat, and then I'm just going to tuck it in to that pocket. I'm not sure if I should put a thumb pull on that one or not. I'm not sure. I may add that as a last detail. So here I have a label that says journal. I think this one is from Calico Collage, and I just inked it up, and I'm going to add that to the first journal in the folio. Then here I have one of those Tim Holtz multi-pockets that I cut with the die using paper from the collection, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to use it, but I decided that that butterfly envelope that I put the thumb pull on, that it needed something else. It was just too plain, so I am adding this multi-pocket piece to it, and I added the stained paper behind it so that it would stand out a little more and wouldn't blend in so much to the background of the butterflies. And here on the other side of that, I'm just adding a stamped image that I had on some tea or coffee stained paper. So here I'm just filling the pockets of this multi-pocket die cut. I'm sure it has another name, but I can't think of it right now. And then I'm just adding some stamped paper down at the bottom like a label. These are things that I had made previously and just had in my stash. And I'm also using pieces from one of the kits in my shop at scrapcraftastic.com. The colors really just went well with this collection of papers. So this large tag and a few of the ephemera pieces and other tags that you see in the folio are actually from the kit that's available in my shop. I'll also link to that kit in the description box below. So here I just trimmed down that tag. I punched the hole at the top. And I am going to do the same thing with the lace. Trim off the band so that it won't be a ruffled piece of lace. It'll just be a straight piece. And then I am going to use that for the tag topper. So here I'm thinking, how do I want to include this tag? And I decide to make a very simple belly band. So I'm using the black marble paper, the same paper that I made the folder insert that I put in the large envelope pocket. Then I'm just adding glue on either end and finding the center and placing it down. Then I'm going to tear off some of the excess around this stamped butterfly. And use that to decorate the belly band. Just very simple. So I'm just sliding the tag in to make sure that that fits. Just checking my other ephemera. I decided I wanted to add a little deco inside this folder. I don't know if should call this a folder or like a folio, an insert, I guess. So I'm adding this butterfly die cut also, along with the label on the bottom right, and sliding it back into the pocket. And then I'm going to clip this faux envelope back into place. Then I'm taking one of the tags from my kit and I'm adding it to the belly band. I'm also adding toppers to a few of the other tags with just a spare piece of lace that I had. And now I'm just moving the tags around to see which tag looks best where. And I did make the journal label a tuck spot so that I could tuck something in. And so I think I'm pretty much done with the inside. I did leave the strings from stitching one of the signatures in. I left those on the outside instead of how they normally are on the inside. And that is why I made these beads. So I'm going to go ahead and emboss the remaining beads. If you recall, I used the glossy accents on the craft colored beads, the black beads, the multicolor lavender beads, and the purplish beads all will be embossed. So the black, I'm actually using black embossing powder for that. All the other beads, I will use a clear embossing powder. And I've actually never done this before. I don't pull out my embossing supplies often either. So I'm kind of a novice at it, and I know I need to use it more, but it's a little intimidating and a little messy. But here I did a pretty good job, I think. And I'm using a toothpick to hold the beads while I'm drying them, and that kind of worked out pretty good for me. So here I'm doing the larger lavender and white beads, and I'm using a clear embossing powder. That was one of the first embossing powders that I bought, and the first time that I used it, I spilled it everywhere. So there's not much left, even though I tried to salvage some of it. But here are the finished embossed beads. I did string them on the cover. I'm not quite happy with how they are. I may change them. I did not make them permanent. And whoever gets it, if they want to remove the beads, they can. I'm going to leave it accessible to be removed. But I'm just going through the journal for one last flip through to see the ephemera and all the tuck spots. The journal pages, they're all blank, and then the faux envelope. The little folder insert that we just made. the ephemera in the butterfly envelope. Well, the other butterfly envelope. There's lots of butterflies. The multi-pocket die cut piece. And I also made that with the pocket behind it for extra room. Then the belly band with a small tag and a large tag, both from my digital kit. Then the other signature, some ephemera pieces tucked into the book page ruffle. And there's also a journaling card in that pocket as well. And then this last pocket here has the tag that we finished here and another journaling card. And here, tucked under the Mariposa pocket, another journaling card and another tag from my digital kit. So that is it. I think I'm pretty much done with this folio. If I make any changes, I'll post photos under the community tab. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.